2024 Raymond High School first quarter principals list. This is all A's in the first quarter. I want to recognize the following folks from grade 9. Andrea Alvino, Maddie Callahan, Madison Elizabeth Dupuy, Lucy Ennis, Annalise Hetherington, Allison McLaughlin, Alyssa Tilton, Coy Vincent, I think I said that right. Apologize if I did not. Jackson Waterhouse, Sarah Wilkins, and Logan Woods. For grade 10, we have Jordan Diaz, Madeline Donahue, Broderick Dupuy, Gianna Gott, Claire Michalik, Rachel Nee, Theodore Pekalski, Abigail Richard, and Amber Serafian. For grade 11, we have Tucker Sofa. And for grade 12, we have Madison Ambrose, Madison Brannon, Jack Harmon, Aisha Hendrick, Jillian McGrath, Vicky Nee, Kylie Potter, Violet Reynolds, and Isabella Waldron. Give them all a round of applause.
Great job. Thanks, Steve. Public input. Anybody? Public input. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Gwen Clark. I'm the grandmother of one of your high school students. I guess I have a few questions. I understand that competency-based education was passed this past summer. I think a lot of the parents are just discovering this within the past few weeks. And I get that New Hampshire, it's mandated by New Hampshire, but the grading is not. So why is the grading changing up? And also I have a question on like the results. Do you have any independent studies on whether competency-based education projects a educational outcome in the long run? Because if kids are doing competency testing and they pass all of their competency tests and complete the class, does that mean they master, like if it was Algebra 1, would that mean that they master Algebra 1? Just a bunch of questions. And can you also on your website post like what the competency-based requirements are for each class, each grade, so that the parents can look at it? Because I think a lot of the parents are just trying to miss out and finding out that even if their kids do not pass one of the competencies, if they've lost that full credit and still have to go to class. And I think probably a lot of parents would like to know a little bit more about it. And then I have one more question, and this is a safety concern. I have never been at a school where kids have to drive themselves to games. Is there an insurance? You got insurance coverage for these kids that are driving to games? Because a lot of them are a long way, and I get that then they can't take people with them, but you know they're going to just to save on gas or whatever. All it would take is one of those kids to get in a car accident, and this whole town would be under one heck of a lawsuit. So I'm hoping that you've got some kind of insurance that will cover that. That's all. I'll just look forward for the results.
To clarify things, one thing is that the district has been doing standards-based grading for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
The high school has changed a little bit on what is passing versus not passing. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
If you could clarify that at the high school.
Technically, this was voted again in a number of years ago, that the district would be competency based and that every student would have to be competent on each, provided they were competent on each competency. The middle school had been doing it for years. And recently, the grading committee and whatever, I forget what committee they had here, said that they needed to start to do that because we are a competency-based school. So that's basically, we are going backwards and actually doing what should have been done 4 years and what currently the middle school has been doing 4 years. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Kids can make the competency up. There's, I know the handbook says 10 days, but I also know too, we want to make sure that every student is competent.
One more quick question, and it's kind of awkward. My granddaughter, has a 504 in place. She had one last year. She's a hemophiliac. And she's also had new medications given her within the past 2 or 3 weeks. She has yet to have her 504 renewed this year, and it should have been done the very first day of school.
I would ask that you reach out to the school. And if whoever you reached out to, if you reach out to then, if you've reached out, I think it would be guidance.
Yep.
Reach out to guidance, her particular guidance counselor. And if you've not met with success, reach out to the principal, Mr. Danable, and reach out to him. And if you're not successful with Mr. Danable, reach out to Mr. Leatherman. Okay? Thanks. Anybody else for public input? All right, we'll keep that open for about 25 more minutes, and if anybody comes along at that time, they'll be allowed to speak. Next up, our students, our schools, Terry.
Oh, Jessica, you've got a bunch of first graders to bring forward. Sorry, daydreaming already.
Miss Creasy, Miss Doobie, and.
So I'm sorry, before you start, Jessica, I've got an email that I'm supposed to read. I'm sorry. I apologize. I looked at my notes and I forgot. I'm sorry. Dear Chairman Harmon and members of the school board, I apologize I cannot attend in person tonight. Please read my letter into the record. I watched with interest, in parentheses, most of, the meeting of 11/29/23 where solar panels and wood boilers were discussed. It sounds like the project has the support of the board. I have some concerns. First of all, this area of the country doesn't get much sun. Have you seen the documentary Planet of the Humans by Michael Moore? It gives a lot of information about how unreliable solar is and also talks about biomass, in parentheses, wood. I ask you to please consider some of these questions while you are making a decision. On rainy days, does the wood boiler kick in? How much kiln dried wood will have to be purchased? Is it cheaper than propane? The different options came with different mortgages. Is that for the boiler and the silo, or the silo, or the solar panels? With the school's other loans coming to an end, can we please have a break for a few years? I did appreciate Mr. Harmon's suggestion that any loan would be negotiated so that the principal can be paid back early to save interest costs. That has not been done. That has not been the case in the past. It is a very slippery slope to rely on quote unquote free money and grants. As we have seen, when the money dries up, the taxpayers must pick up the slack. Also, there is no quote unquote free money. Either it has been printed, which means we pay in inflation. We certainly saw that happen with all the free COVID, quote unquote, money. Or the quote unquote free money comes from taxes we paid to the federal or state government. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your time and all you do. I am praying for each of you. You too, Terry, Marjorie, and Jennifer. Sincerely, Julie Loeffner, Raymond resident since 1984. Thank you, Ms. Loeffner. Sorry. Come on up. I apologize.
We're happy to have our grade 1 students here in this PG and Miss Creasy and share about their learning.
Thank you for having us. So we did a big Pilgrim and Wampanoag study. It's part of our historical movement. And we brought some projects that we did. Oops, we okay?
It's the microphone.
Oh, okay. We brought some projects to show some of our learning and what we were doing. So we made Thanksgiving story bracelets. And if you notice the colored beads, they go with our story that we'd like to share with you. You ready? Black is for the
Pilgrims,
who left
England,
searching for religious freedom. White is for the
sails,
of the,
Mayflower,
blue is for the,
Atlantic Ocean,
and how many months?
two,
2 months to sail. That's why there's 2. Dark green is for the new
New land,
that the pilgrims reached. Gray is for,
Plymouth Rock,
silver is for the
long snowy winter,
that the pilgrims faced. Lime green is for the fresh new
spring,
that gave the pilgrims hope. Tan is for
Wampanoags,
who helped the pilgrims to survive. And the last 4 colors are for the first Thanksgiving feast. Orange for the,
pumpkin,
brown is for the,
deerskin,
yellow for the,
corn,
and red for the,
cranberries.
and this is our Thanksgiving story.
So not only were we working on that kind of thing in social studies, but the first grade team really wanted to incorporate it in all parts of our day so that students could get a really comprehensive understanding of what we were trying to do. So we actually took our writing unit and we incorporated it into Pilgrims. It was worked out because it was informational writing. So students started to learn about fact versus opinions. And we did a sort. So first we started with things about themselves. So, we talked about how an opinion might be that your favorite color is blue. That might not be everybody's favorite color, but then we were able to translate that thinking to academic language, and we used it with Pilgrims and Wampanoags after a read aloud. And students ended up doing their own informational piece where they wrote facts about the Pilgrims. It was really, really awesome to see because they've come so far since the beginning of the year, and they did this without any help from me. So I have Adriana, and she'd like to read to you what she wrote about Pilgrims and what she learned.
Squanto helped the Pilgrims. The Pilgrims went on the Mayflower. Some Pilgrims died on the boat.
And I've been here.
Squanto helped the Pilgrims. Squanto taught the Pilgrims to hunt. The boat took more than 1 day.
And not only did they write things that they learned in the social studies curriculum, but they made sure that they had capital letters, spacing, periods. So we worked on all of that throughout.
Good job. If we could have everybody introduce themselves, if you could introduce your students anyways.
Definitely. Anthony Berry and Leah Sawyer.
I have Adriana Caparella and Ben Bronson.
Good job, guys. Oh, cool. Questions, comments? Yes.
I know it's weird for me to talk during the, but I have not always worked in education. I actually used to work for the Wampanoag tribe.
Do you?
I did.
Wow.
So my daughter in her school was just learning about the Native Americans too. So I put all my jewelry together that I have from the tribe and I let her bring it into the school. I can bring it into you guys if you'd like to look at it.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Thank
See if I can
you.
drop it off tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, come here.
Come here.
You don't get a bracelet?
Boom. Friday ice cream on me, okay? Thank you.
That's for all of us too, right?
No. Thank you.
Then you get some pictures.
Right. Student representative to the school board, Tyler?
Howdy. All right. Actually, there's something to talk about. There has been circulation concern about the competency recovery. it's in, page 40 of the student handbook. Yeah. More concerning, like competency recovery and how that's worded. I've had a lot of teachers express, sort of little confusion because it seems somewhat ambiguous onto how competency recovery is supposed to take place and how a student sort of goes through that process. It sounds awfully similar to like catching up on your formative work and then doing a retake, which is just for the retake, but it's sort of unclear in that regard. The issue I think some teachers had and students was the you fail one competency, essentially fail the course. A lot of teachers expressed on their end like from the perspective of like using PowerSchool, that's a tricky matter. And I'm not entirely sure if it's 100% correct, but they said that wasn't even like in writing either. It was like a formal announcement at like a teacher conference or something or other.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that can be addressed.
Right.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Not really.
Okay. Thank you.
What about page 60?
40.
It says if at the end of a marking term, a student has one or more competency scores below 1.5, that student will be assigned to competency recovery with their teacher. Students will receive additional instruction to complete any outstanding or incomplete formative work. They will receive the appropriate summative assessments when they have demonstrated that they have mastered the applicable knowledge and skills for that competency. So it sounds like a retake, essentially. It also states that parents will be notified.
Thank you.
Just bring that up.
All right, next up, technology update, Terry?
Mr. Clifton. Want to let them know about Cam 2? Let them know about Cam 2.
I have that on.
Oh, geez, sorry, sir.
You went all out today.
Jeez.
What's this?
I know, I
Man.
totally.
I put the shorts away for you.
Not the 22-degree weather.
Oh, no, he still wears them now.
Oh, he still wears them now, yeah.
So then, every morning now, he's like short. My mom wouldn't be happy. Tell him have fun in your leg prisons. Apoplectic again, that's what
I
it
know.
is.
It will take a little time. Here we go.
So, we've had a lot of, team changes over the last couple months. Obviously I became the director now and, as of Friday of last week, Cameron Zakalchik became the, technology and integration specialist. So he'll be dealing more with PowerSchool and, student information systems and, working on helping the teachers with technology in the classroom and stuff like that. So, because he'll be with me more at the high school now, I did move the high school tech to the middle school, while we hire a new middle school tech. Because I can't have all three of us at the high school, so, I do have Cam working with him. I didn't just throw him down there, but, he's been doing good down there and, yeah, Nathan is still at the elementary school, so. I am looking to hire a middle school tech right now. So in September, obviously the tickets were a big part of, beginning of September with school starting. We get a lot of tickets then for, classroom stuff that wasn't completely set up in the summer. A lot of Chromebook stuff that we hand out Chromebooks if we need to repair them. So that's basically what we did at the beginning of September. The middle school got a new intercom system. So far that has been great. The staff that love it. The paging is done over the internet now. There's a lot more control that you can customize. Right now, I know they have one for morning announcements that they just hit the button and calls. And there's a lot more customization that we're gonna work on. The cameras at the middle school and elementary school started getting installed in September. I have another update on that in November, I think, so wait till I get to that, but that's when they started being installed. And then we obviously hung 4 Promethean boards at the high school and the middle school. And at the elementary school, we put 4 on carts and we distributed them to the teachers. So in October, before we brought new Chromebooks. They were 14-inch, same brand, but we started distributing those to the high school students. I believe we started with the sophomores, but then we ended up emailing the whole, each class. And I think so far we've had about 120 people come and swap out their Chromebook. Main reason for that was so we have about 120 Chromebooks now with their cases and chargers that we can repurpose and give to the incoming 4th graders next year. All those Chromebooks are still within they're not end of life, so they can be used. So we have a bunch of spares right now for that. We still do have some more Chromebooks, but as the kids come down, we kind of swap them out. We've done a lot with the PBIS and Swiss data, basically importing new users and students and archiving old users. That's a big program we use now for behavior, so I've made sure to keep on top of that. And that's something that Cam also shows on. I put new tech director up there, but obviously I was found. And then the CISA report, I don't know if Brittany ever said, that's a big report we get. Basically, someone comes in, checks our whole network for security vulnerabilities. So I have like a 100-page report from that. And we slowly have been going through that since we got it done and have been fixing some security stuff. A couple of major things we fixed in October was we got a computer off the network that was running a very old version of Windows. And we were able to use a crossover cable to connect it directly to the HVAC system so that it's no longer on the internet. We have implemented the password change rule that happens every couple of months or 6 months, I think, so that that was another thing on the report that we had to change. And we've also enabled 2-factor on not students, but staff accounts, and especially the SAU members. I have another thing on that later, but that is also something we've been rolling out since teachers came back. And updating, so we've been updating, obviously, the wireless access point firmware as they come in. We've done the Identikit machines in the lobbies, those had updates. These are just big ones, obviously, we've updated a lot of stuff, and then the servers, we've gone through and done the update, so don't break anything. So those have all been something we've been trying to keep on top of. And we've also, I'm not sure if Brittany ever showed the technology reference sheet, but I do have it later on. But and, basically when a teacher wants to use an app, they put a Google form request in, and we look at it and make sure we have a DPA and if we could use it and what data we can share with the company. So far, I think we've got about 75 of those this year that we've either accepted or denied. If you look on the sheet, I can pull up at the end. There's like colored flags that show if it's allowed or not allowed, or if it can only be used by staff or students. So that's something we've been working closely, hopefully with librarians, stuff like people like that want to use apps that we don't currently have. And in November, we recently, our server backups, another part of the CISA report was to have more than two methods of backup, so we have got it currently, still kind of working, but we have one go to the cloud, we have, one go to the Google Drive, and we have a backup that runs to the physical servers like we used to have, so we have three ways now. Hopefully we never have to use them, but if we need them, we have them. And Google App Cleanup, we recently, Google changed their policy where if the kids, so most of our students that are under 18, we have to go into the admin side and approve all the apps that they can use. So we've been working pretty much every day. We get a new teacher telling us the app's not letting them sign in. So, I mean, it's as simple for us as making sure we have the signed DPA and stuff, and then we can approve it. But that's been a big thing that we thought we had all of them before that, but obviously we missed a couple. And so Chrome Sign Builder is a free Chrome feature that I just changed. So we were paying for the Smart Sign to Go software at the high school only. I got the bill for that a couple weeks ago, and I didn't think we needed it, so I saved some money, and I went with the free Chrome Sign Builder, and the office here so far has loved it. It's basically just a Google slideshow, and they add stuff to it, and after 60 seconds, it will auto update on the TVs. That's what it runs. So the guidance and the one in the main lobby have the same PowerPoint right now, but I could make separate ones if they want. But so far, I think it looks a little better, and it's a little more easy for them to update the announcements on it and stuff. So the camera installation. So the middle school is completely off the old server now, and they're on the new system that we got from the previous tech director. There is a couple cameras that we're still working with the vendor on, but for the most part, they're all working and recording and everything. And the elementary school, the cameras were on back order a little, but Todd and I have been telling them to get one school done first before we go to the elementary school. So I believe they're coming over the winter break to hang the cameras because it's hard with the kids there, but hopefully that'll be finished up this month. We've done a couple new cable runs. Most of those have been cameras that we've moved here for Todd, or if we need a new port on the wall, I just figured I'd add that in there. We got new iPads. I believe that was before me, but the elementary school tech has been setting those up. We do have a iPad management system, and a lot of the iPads before were not managed correctly, so we wanted to make sure these ones were in there. It's a lot easier to add apps to them, and we can see where, we can check the software update and make sure that people aren't logging into the app store and stuff like that. So we have done probably 10 to 15 of those. And the phone system, that's always kind of been a struggle, but we actually have made significant progress on that, where if the power goes out or the internet hasn't gone down in a while, but if it does, a lot of the phones wouldn't reboot without us having to run around the school at 7 a.m. every morning. But now a good test was the middle school power. They took it offline on, I think it was Saturday morning, and all the phones actually came back without us having to do that on Monday. So we've made a lot of changes on those, and I think we're going in the right direction. So I'm hoping that still is that. These are a couple projects. The first one there is they're basically USB keys that you use instead of your cell phone for two-factor. It's something that Brittany got back when she was the director, but we didn't have time to set them up and such. So I set them up about a month ago, and I haven't had many staff come and ask for one, but we do have them if they want. It basically, you plug it into your computer and you touch it with your finger instead of getting a code to your phone if they don't want to use their personal devices. So those are all, we have a bunch of them down in the high school tech office. If people want to use them, we can do that. The network segregation, I put that on there because currently we're working on, VLANs for each school. We do have them set up here for the phones and the cameras, and at the middle school for the phones. But we're eventually gonna do the elementary school and possibly the cameras at the middle school, depending on how. I mean, if you don't know what that is, it basically separates the network traffic, so everything's not running on one network. So it's better for if the cameras were running slow. It should make it so also the phones get better connection. It's not needed, but it's good to have. And then we're going to be working on a new image for Windows 11 because Windows 10 is going to be end of life on October 14th of 25. So we're going to have something ready by next summer, or else mid-school year, we're going to have to image everyone's computer, which would not be fun. So probably we'll start doing that now. And the new computers we get, we can put them on Windows 11 and then slowly move the staff we have now onto Windows 11, probably either next summer or if we can get a little break for that. And these are the sheets I was talking about. They're on the website too. But like this is basically what it is. It's all the apps we have. So there's a key right here, but basically green flag means that the teachers can use them and students. The blue one is conditions. Usually that means like the kids are not allowed to log in, but they can use the site, or the teachers aren't allowed to make student logins. Yellow means they submitted the next day I'll show you a form and we haven't approved it yet. And then red is obviously the kids can't use it. But there's a bunch of apps. I mean, there's links if you want to look at it, stuff like that. And then this is basically just what the form looks like that they fill out, but put my name there. But you know, it's pretty simple, and they basically fill out if it's paid, if they need to have student information log in, or if they just need to use the app and want to have the kids use it as well on the Chromebook. And that's pretty much it.
Questions, comments for Matt? Go ahead, Joe.
Might not be for Matt, might be for Terry. There's a lot of apps on here. A lot. I mean, I know we're looking at curriculum and stuff like that. Should we limit the amount of? You go from one teacher, then you go into the next year. I'm guessing they're not using the same apps even when they go from third grade to fourth grade, or
No.
I mean, and there's so many of them here. I mean,
Joe, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even know what half of them are for, what they're, I mean, the principals look at them, the teachers look at them. Like Matt looks at them, I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you.
Are they costing us anything?
I don't think so. Most of them are,
They're free, aren't they?
Yeah, most of them are free. The ones that cost on here, I think, say like paid subscription,
Or brain pop.
BrainPod.
I know we've went through in this budget.
Yep.
To ensure that we weren't duplicating subscriptions.
I mean, I probably would say a lot of these, I mean, this was built last year, so I don't know if this year people are using a lot. I haven't gone through and cleaned up ones that we aren't using. I guess it was more like a lot of times teacher will be like, oh, I love this app, and they came from a different school or something. So I have it up here so they know they can use it, but
Is this list an official list of apps that we have used at some point, or is this sort of like
These are the,
between like teacher apps and, you know?
we can't have an app. We can't have a kid access an app unless we go through
Right.
to make sure that we have a, what's it called, Matty?
DPA.
A DPA, so that there's no data shared. So we have to ensure that it's a, you know,
Right. So it's not necessarily like an official curriculum app. It's just an app somebody wanted to use. We approved it for use.
yep, it could have been for just a, I hate to say this, one project or one thing.
Right.
And it's just on the list because we've approved it. Some, I'm looking up there, Kahoot, I think is something that is used a little more often. PBIS rewards, we don't use it anymore. as I'm going through this, actually now I'm starting to see some of them. Oh, yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Some of them could be 3 years old and they're on the list.
We started last year, so I guess.
Yep. Oh,
No,
last year.
did you have something, Tony?
So if you're on this or any district network, you can't get on any app unless it's approved on that list.
Correct.
You all set?
Yeah, I was just,
Go ahead.
Question, is there a reason Khan Academy can't be accessed by students? Is there something to do with like information sharing? Or is it just?
Khan Academy never wanted to sign the GPA. In fact, that's been years they've been trying to get us to, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's the problem there, Tyler, is they refuse to the non-disclosure.
The tutor.com one with the state, it took them a long time before they would sign up the DPN.
You would think it came from the state, they would, know the rules, but
Comment, Joseph? I had enough political comments last night.
Steve?
So Matt, on the upgrade to Windows 11, are they charging us for upgrading what we have, or are they just giving us the upgrade?
No, we already have a copy of Windows 11.
Okay, so it's just a matter of rolling it out.
Called like Microsoft Volume Licensing Center.
Yes.
And I'm not honestly sure how we pay for that, or handled that, but I have access to it. But I know we pay for like a certain amount of licenses, so no, we wouldn't have to. Right now, the problem we have to make sure is some laptops we have might not be able to go to Windows 11.
Right.
Most of them should, but some of the older G5 models that some teachers have might have to check that, but no, we shouldn't have to.
Okay.
We have a lot of licenses.
Good, thank you.
We do have some machines on Windows 11 right now, probably maybe 15, and so we had an image we made, but it needs some upgrades. So I just don't want to put that one on 300 bucks.
Yeah, makes sense.
You mentioned there was the power was taken down at the middle school on Saturday.
Yeah.
Was that planned by PSNH? I assume,
Yeah.
or Eversource, excuse me. So we knew about it.
Yep, Todd put a memo out to everybody and topped the generator off,
time's done.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
fired it up, made sure it was a good test.
Okay.
And he let the rec know too that there was going to be an issue.
Thank you. That was my concern, as long as we knew about it. Anybody else for Matt? Thanks, Matt.
thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Next up, 2024-25 default budget.
I can feel the heat from
I was like, whoa.
It's a hot potato.
So we prepared the default budget, and as you know, I had sent an updated because John came and met with us earlier this week and some of the supplies seemed high. Typically, I'm not used to people putting one-time purchases in the supply line, and we typically carry forward the supply line because that's what the voters approved. So what we have for you right now is a $609,775 default budget higher than your proposed budget. And the reasoning for that is because the positions that we put into the proposed budget, the district-wide psychologist, the lead behavior, speech, the speech pathologist that we have right now, none of those were in the budget for last year. So they can't be in the budget for next year because the voters have not approved it. So I worked with the director of student services and asked her how much it would be to put all of these positions if we did not get our proposed budget. Then we would have to, and Terry consulted with legal, that if it's not in the proposed budget, then we're gonna have to contract these services out and how much that's going to be. So that's basically the difference. But as we go through this, you can see, it says reductions, but that service is an increase. So you have the approved budget for 23-24, and then we're going to add in the bond and principal interest difference, which is 41,000. The one-time expenditures that we subtracted, piloting program for the social studies at the middle school, social studies textbooks at the high school, district-wide facilities van racking equipment for the new van, elementary school facility replacement of a carpet extractor, Middle school facilities trash cart and new vacuums. Elementary school guided math kits, which was under supplies, which is the one we caught on Monday, and middle school guided math kits under supplies. Then the additions that we're going to have are salaries, 193,000. Health insurance, 731,000. New Hampshire retirement, 68,000. And all the other benefits that we have that fall under the salaries and benefits, but those excluded above, $8,943. The contracted services for students is increasing by 715,000. Increases in electricity, propane and oil, an increase of 5,300. Other services such as admin, legal, audit, trainer, professional development, an increase of $15,000. Maintenance contracts, a decrease of 3,000. Transportation, an increase of 611,000. Communications and printing, a decrease of 323,000. And special education and vocational education tuitions, an increase of 385,000. And so now your default budget is at $31,392,336.
Also, questions, comments about the default?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
Now, the math kits, should we be putting something in there for replacements every year?
Those were one-time purchases and then we've went to iReady or we're planning on go to iReady next year too.
Okay.
Yep, so, yep.
Do you have something, Steve?
I do. So again, this is my real first year. I don't really count last year when we went through this. Because I was still reading in Greek. What is the fact that the default budget came in higher and we're calling it the default budget? What does that mean as we go into March? And because typically when you read it, it says, do you want to do this or do you want to do the default? But right now, it would be, do you want to do the lower amount or the default, which would be the higher amount? Is that the correct way to look at it?
It's an either or.
Right. So right now, the voters would have to look at a default of a higher amount than our proposed.
And the idea being that you're giving the voters the choice to go with what the board is recommending.
Right.
Or live to what was done the year before with certain adjustments.
Okay. So our budget's looking pretty good, comparatively speaking, to the one that the default budget came up with.
I think Terry kind of put it in good wording yesterday about how we have individuals in there now that we don't have to go out of district for and hire those individuals that are in the budget. That's the biggest reason why those are there, because we have the default budget, because those individuals are there now.
Yeah, I guess the reason I said it that way is my concern has been that somehow the default would come even lower and then we'd be in a position where, okay, now we're already finding ourselves tight, but the default came in higher. So it looks like we did a pretty good job of keeping everything tightened as much as we can, as the default would have been higher.
Doesn't necessarily mean they won't vote for it though, because I've seen them, they voted once for a higher default since I've been on the board, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Like 3 years ago.
3 years ago, they voted for the default, which was lower in 21.
Right. So they could
And
vote.
that's the only time in the last 18 years that the voters voted for a default in the last 18 years for the school.
Interesting.
And the way the laws changed before, because we used to have default budgets that were higher than regular budget. But when they changed the staffing types, it's been pretty much under with the, one-time expenditures that we've had. And, sometimes, like, I think, was it last year? I think we had a lot more. So that's, things like that can be pretty expensive.
And I know we talked about it last night at the meeting too. I think it just shows that there was a lot of work done to keep it as tight as possible and came in under the default. I think that's pretty good. I mean, I know it's not a great budget. Trust me, it's expensive, but.
Any other, go ahead.
Yeah, my only comment would be that I think we should work and try to educate people on the difference between the two and why one is, more preferable than the other. I guess depending on which side you're on, but I don't think a lot of people know the difference between the two.
Can I ask a question? Hypothetically. And if the default went, I know we would keep the people we have hired. You know what I'm saying? Because they're still cheaper. We would have a larger surplus. I'm just talking hypotheticals. Next year, are those individuals in the budget or will they still be considered contracted services?
It should still be in the budget.
We didn't, the default goes in, they're not in the budget.
But they're in the, like Joe said, they're in the budget. Once we start the year on July 1st.
Cause they're technically we're not paying for them now, cause they're part of the
Yeah.
grant. They wouldn't be part of the grant next year.
My interpretation would be Joe's interpretation, which is July 1st. We're living with the budget that we've been given. It's our budget now.
Those people would be, okay. Yep. All right. I was just,
That's what I would interpret it.
we could get in a sticky wicket here.
But I've been wrong before.
Yeah,
Shocking, but
rarely, but yes. Okay, that was a like, how are we gonna get out of this predicament?
any other questions, comments about the default? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead, Cindy.
So I understand what this is saying about the default, but in order to tell people the difference between the regular budget or the budget that we propose, what are the difference between the two? I see that it's the 600,000, but there's other things that
That is the biggest one. It's the contracted services. That's what's driving it. Is the fact that we have individuals now who we took out of contracted services and hired them. And because we were in a bit of a budget issue, we paid for them with ESSER and grants. Now, next year, that goes away. We still want to maintain those people. But if the budget isn't passed, I have to go back to the contracted services
okay.
and hire them that way, which is twice as much. Again, I would assume that the board would never do that. We would have a surplus for the next year and we would continue to hire the people that we have because that's our goal, is to continue to have those people who are vested working for us. You know, if I can say, hey, I need you to go to the middle school today. The
Right.
person goes instead of saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, my contract says I work here. You know what I'm saying?
So, I had another question. So are the numbers on like the voting thing?
Yep.
Like this?
When you see the article, you'll see, will we raise and appropriate the 30 million something? And if you don't, basically the wording, not like this, but if you don't like this, you vote no, and you'll get this, the default budget, and that would be 31, whatever million.
Can I ask a
Go ahead.
hypothetical? So let's say, if the operating budget was lower, right? And we proposed hiring new teachers, I'm saying we did. And that got voted down, we wouldn't be able to then hire those teachers, right? Was that the idea? Cause they would.
How about if the default budget was lower?
I didn't get that far yet, but I'm saying if we proposed to hire teachers and it was an operating budget and that didn't pass, we then wouldn't be able to hire those teachers.
On a normal year,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. So now say in this instance where the default would be higher, could we then still hire those teachers, or is that out because the town voted no? Even though we would have the money, could we then go and do that? It's a weird scenario, but I mean, it's a better
Hypothetically, we
situation we're in.
Could. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I
would
would.
say, I believe at July 1st, we have the discretion to do
It's
what
our
we
money,
do
you're right.
with that 30, whatever number.
So obviously if it was
We'll
lower
have,
than.
if that happens, then we'll have consulting of,
It's the lawyer fees.
Leslie and Kidder, so.
Hmm.
Anything else on the budget? If not, I'll entertain a motion to for the default
Make a motion to accept the 24-25 default budget.
in the amount of 31,392,000.
$392,336.
I'll second.
You all set on that, Jim? Yeah. And you second, Steve? Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Marjorie. Next up, energy efficient investments.
I don't see Mike here.
You're right.
He wasn't supposed to be here,
That's correct.
but he didn't provide anything either.
I don't think I have anything.
I don't have an email from him.
He didn't. Oh,
All right, we're like 40 minutes ahead of schedule here.
I didn't say them.
oh,
I phrased
Tony.
it properly.
I'm done.
He must have wanted.
have anything since last week.
The idea was we were gonna get clearing up things so that we could move this forward one way or the other, right? And we don't have the information to move forward.
I will say, if it is in fact because we're ahead of schedule and he wasn't planning on being here until 7, maybe.
Mike couldn't be here at all that.
Oh, he couldn't be here tonight at all.
Right, and we reiterated that last time he was here because
Oh,
we knew that, yeah, so.
Sorry.
No, that's
I
fine.
just don't want to skip him and then have him walk in
No, that's
10.
fine.
I'm gonna call and I don't know if you wanna.
Okay, all right, I'll move on to capital. Are you, Marjorie, do the capital? Okay, I didn't know who was, okay, so why don't we go to capital improvement plan? Marjorie?
capital improvement plan, okay. So I made all the changes that we went over the summer. So you have. Well, I don't know which sheet you guys have first.
You have all the needs and everything.
So the needs assessment is updated. That also needed to be updated with the beginning balances as of July 1st. I can't remember the exact changes that I made, but I went through and I watched the meeting and I double checked the minute notes. So everything that you guys had asked to change
Excuse me.
is reflected in here.
Okay,
So you have the needs assessment, then you have the expenditures tab. And that is everything that we were asking to get done in the 24-25 year. And then the next page is the appropriations tab, which we always, that's how we don't have enough to appropriate every year for that. And then the last page is the draft number 2 for what we were asking for. And I know that there was discussion about where to fund the additional money if you were going to go forward with the 10% increase. I don't know if I was expecting anything else, if I was missing anything.
yeah, traditionally, we go to the CIP committee,
Mhm.
but the CIP committee never met.
Yeah.
So we don't have a recommendation, obviously, one way or the other. So one committee that didn't have anything.
We're working on getting those committees back
That's
in
fine.
operations.
That's fine. Questions or comments on what's been presented?
He's gonna call me back.
Oh, it's fine. On the last page, which is the proposed expenditures for 24-25. It's 378,701, and as I'm assuming, Marjorie, you've got the note down here that we in the last few months the board had said we wanted to go with the additional 10%, and that number would be 499,125, correct? So that means the bottom line there should read, as opposed to 378,701, would be 499,125, and we have $120,424 difference. And we need to break that up in this where we want to put it. And what we've done in the past is put it towards savings. The question becomes, where do we want it? What I did is, interestingly enough, I took what we should be expending from the first page or appropriating if we were doing it, and we had the correct amount. Maintenance we should be asking for $4 million, right?
Mhm.
Technology, 366,000. And food service, 136. So what I did is I just took 1% of the total. And the maintenance is 88.88% of the total. Technology is 8.9%, and food service is 3.02% of the. So I broke it up according to that. I don't know if that's what we want to do. I know in the past we haven't done it that way. But so it's up to the board what we'd like to do. Go ahead, Steve.
So I just want to make sure I'm following what you're saying. So you're saying take the 499,125 number, breaking it up by those percentages on the categories in the planned expenditure page?
No, we've already got 378,701 already distributed. Those are those items up above. We want to put forth to the voters 499,125. So 499,125 minus 378,701 is
The 120.
120,424.
Okay.
And what I'm thinking is break it up as a percent of what we should be raising that 120.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation, but anybody else? It's small for example, the maintenance would be $107,037 if I did my math right. Technology would be 9,745, and food service would be 3,642. And what we normally put is a line under each one, savings for future projects.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because what, in theory, this should be savings for everything and not, we have projects going yearly. But right now, the majority of the money is going to projects. If we were fully funding, we have significant savings, but we don't because we wouldn't pass it by the voters of close to what, $4.5 million. So if that works for everybody, then do your numbers coincide with what I've got?
Can you repeat those numbers?
Sure. I've got for maintenance, 107,037. Technology, 9,745. And food service, 3642, excuse me.
I didn't go through and calculate your percentage.
Oh, okay. So if the board's okay with that, we'll distribute it that way on that, and that's what we'll present to the budget committee. Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
Makes
Right.
sense.
So if we can get a motion to approve the CIP plan as was amended tonight.
I'll make a motion, we accept the capital improvement plan as amended.
Second,
I'll second.
that good on Marjorie, what we need to do.
Thank you.
Yep. Any questions, comments on that?
Is that projector making all that noise?
I think it was.
Yeah, I was wondering what that
I'd replace that
Somebody
thing.
making tea or something.
Like jets flying over.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Marjorie.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand it. This is just ink and paper to me. I don't.
All right.
I'm a little.
Next up. 2024 warrant articles. As it stands right now, we've pending the conversation we have on the energy efficient investments. We have two. We've got capital reserve funds, which is a traditional one we do every year, and that would reflect the last page on what we just approved. That, the warrant article would spell those things out. And there's a copy of that in the backup. And then there's a transfer of funds. Any questions on? Sorry, I'm trying to.
I don't see the transfer of fund draft. I see the draft.
If you go on,
Oh, is it the same? Sorry,
the same page.
I was looking for a new page.
Yep, no, it's fine. Why don't we do the capital reserve fund one first? So that would be new numbers that
I have the
reflect,
estimated numbers if you want them.
if you would, please.
Raymond School District Equipment Facilities Maintenance and Replacement Capital Reserve Fund will now be $403,526, which is 403,526. Technology Capital Reserve Fund will now be $57,832, 57822. And the Food Service Equipment Capital Reserve Fund will be $37,767, 37767. For a grand total of $499,125, 499,125.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that capital reserve fund warrant article? And obviously the wording up above will change to reflect the new number. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the capital reserve warrant article as amended.
I'll make a motion to accept the capital reserve for the warrant article as amended.
Second,
A second.
second by Steve. Questions or comments about? Go ahead.
I
Yep.
think I would know this by now, but. So these ones go in no matter what, right? Like if they vote yes, these funds come out of. This is in the.
We
budget.
raise and appropriate that money and they get distributed into the CRF.
As
according to
opposed to
that.
these would only go in if there's a surplus.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Yep.
Um. My only concern is like, I see this,
Well, we'll handle the
all right.
transfer ones after we get through this one, Tony.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah.
All right. All those in favor of the capital reserve warrant article as amended? Aye. Cindy, I don't know if you.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I wasn't sure. That was, motion passes unanimously. All right, capital reserve, our surplus funds to capital reserve funds. We had talked, the board had talked about wanting to distribute the money a little differently. Traditionally, we raise and appropriate up to 400,000. And we talked about at a previous meeting, splitting that up 300,000 to the maintenance, up to 300,000, excuse me. And up to 100,000 for the purpose of educating educationally disabled children. And the question becomes, do we want to do it in one warrant article or two? Go ahead.
I want to clarify too, that how you word it is how it's funded too, whichever one comes first. Let's say we only have $250,000. If you had maintenance first, they would take all the money. Where if you put special ed first, they would take 100,000 and then the leftover would go to maintenance. So it's just like if you were to separate the articles and put maintenance first and sped first, you only have, whether it's how the wording is, whichever one's first is the one, if you don't have the money, gets funded.
So if we word it, we're gonna do this first in this sentence, then the second sentence is 50 more. I'm just
I just, so that you know, when you word it, which one do you want to fund?
first.
So is that
If we do
only
it-
if it's combined?
If we combine it.
If you have a separated one,
Ooh,
if you have two articles, same thing. If you only have $300,000, the first article gets funded and the second one would not. If it was maintenance, if it was vice versa,
okay.
fund special ed and only $200,000 could go because you only had 300,000 towards maintenance.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I asked Terry about this earlier because I know he was gonna get legal recommendation for it. In my experience, I've never seen them combined like this. Typically, you separate them out. And that's when you go through and you number the warrant articles of how you want them to be on the warrant, because that way it will be funded first, like he just said.
Right, but
I think it makes it more clear and clean for the tax.
I prefer the combined, but, and because it's just a matter of which one you put first, whether you have two or one, right? Am I wrong in that? It doesn't matter. Because if you,
According to Gordon, yes, Gordon,
you know what I mean
it's
is
unique to Raymond, but you can do it.
maintenance would be, if we put the maintenance one in exclusive maintenance would be up to 300 and the situation 250, the 250 all goes there regardless of what happened to it. The same thing is the wording on if it's combined, the 300 goes, the 250 goes to maintenance, nothing.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Unless you flip the wording.
Joe?
So even if we put it in two separate ones, whichever one
Is first gets the money.
Yeah.
are we in charge of, who go, I know it goes to DOE and then.
Well, we put them, I would think we would,
As long as we're in charge of that.
I would hope that,
I mean, we went through up to doesn't mean up to this year, and now we say whoever's first gets the money, so.
for me, I would think it'd be just one less article for the voters if we had it in one.
Yeah, 'cause either
Yeah.
way, it ain't gonna
What's
matter.
that?
Either way, it ain't gonna matter. It's the same composition. It's just,
Yeah, it's just a matter of one less time we have to explain. That's what
And
I
if
look
it's
at it.
in two separate, is it possible that one gets approved and one?
Yes.
Yeah, one doesn't, right?
Anything's possible.
Yeah,
right?
or no matter what we do, yes.
Yes.
And then, or both lose, I don't, it's just, but again, historically, these have passed. I didn't look recently, but they've passed, it's not been close. But again, it's only been maintenance. Last 2 years, I think we've had up to 400. Before that, it was like 75. So what's the board's pleasure? One warrant article, two warrant articles?
I like that.
If we get a motion,
So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'll try it after.
I'll make a motion to accept the surplus funds to capital reserve funds as presented.
as what?
As presented.
Okay,
Do we have to say the combined
Second.
version?
yeah, I think that'd probably be better if we say the combined version, Joe, so it's,
The combined version as presented.
yeah. Get a second?
I'll second.
Now the question is, would it make sense to reverse them?
That was my question.
To me, I think that's
Yeah.
easier, because you know what I'm saying, Joe, in the sense
Yeah.
that you get a 250, it all goes to maintenance, at least if we do the special education first.
Yeah, we need a help in that account right now too.
We need help and, but we're $4 million short in maintenance.
Yep,
I could put it in perspective.
I know, but
So it's, yeah.
either one.
So, I mean, I agree that this is all well and good. But not only would I flip the order, I would consider, I mean, you just mentioned we're behind on the maintenance capital reserve, but if you think about what's been killing us lately is special ed costs, right? And it would take literally one bus to wipe out this whole $100,000. So I mean, what are we really doing here? Are we gonna try to prepare ourselves for potentially not get destroyed if 4 more out of district kids move into town? 'Cause that will cripple us, right?
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yep,
I think we need to take that more seriously, because that's the killer lately and probably will be moving forward over.
Are you thinking make the number for special ed large?
Yeah, I think we should be funding that more than just 100,000. Yeah, if we want it to be significant enough to get us out of a jam.
Have we read the 2005 warrant article that was establishing this? Because I don't think, the way I read what it says, I think it's for the paying for the education of, not the transportation of.
typically it is for special education. That, not
But that's-
transportation.
Tuition, no?
Tuition, yes.
Tuition, I'm just saying the
Right.
transportation would be separate,
Well,
because I know
Yeah.
we've got issues on both sides.
I'll take what I can
Right
get.
now. No, I understand. I'm just wanting to clarify.
Tuition cost would be more than transportation, because
Right, but all I'm saying,
odds are, we would have a student already going to one of those schools. Odds are. I'm not saying it's exact.
All right, so-
Tuition is gonna be a lot.
Could we then repurpose that fund to include transportation? Any,
we would
any,
have to,
any unexpended special education cost?
we would have to have a different warrant article.
Oh, yeah, I understand that, but that's, while we're doing this, talking about it, like, this has
Mhm.
been a serious problem. And it's gonna continue to be, in my opinion, and just throwing peanuts at it isn't gonna,
Well, I don't know if, I differ, I guess.
how much money is in that fund currently?
197,000. Right? Pretty much
Ballpark 200 is what I remember. I don't know what, it's give or take a few thousand. last
Again,
time I
I
know.
read last night.
One,
But again, we've always, up until even this past year, it's always been covered. The overtures have always been covered.
we've done 2 budget freezes in the last 2 years.
Yep, but it's been covered.
Okay.
All I'm just saying, Tony, is that we have competing interests. Each of them are just as important as the other, in my mind. And I don't think, we haven't had to touch that capital reserve fund for special education, thankfully. We've
How close?
constantly,
Last year, no. This year, I'm nervous.
we turned back, we put 400,000 into the maintenance. And then we had what, about 600,000 returned to the taxpayers? Now, this year is a different year. We're in the freeze, as you said. So,
It's just my opinion that we should be taking this a little bit more, put a little bit more, I don't know, use a little more foresight when approaching the special education disabled children capital reserve fund.
okay, go ahead, Marjorie, and then,
I just want to say, Tony, I agree with you, but I think that's when we have our forums and everything like that. And when we do our public hearing and all that kind of stuff, I think that's when we make it known about how serious the issue is. And they're going to see that when we go through the budget and the default budget. So it's going to be brought to their attention as we do our presentations and everything like that.
go ahead, Jen.
We did ask our attorney, are we still wondering whether that, sorry, I was looking.
That's fine.
Whether that capital reserve fund can be used for transportation.
It was a question I raised, had we looked at it?
We have, we asked our attorney if if that capital reserve fund for the purpose of educating educationally disabled children could we use that fund for transportation to and from the out of district school? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
There you go.
I didn't think that.
Because I would.
Wrong once again.
I gotta quit following your lead, John.
That maybe makes more sense to change that percentage, do like a 50-50 split.
That's just my opinion, that I think that, again, 100,000 in terms of special ed is literally nothing. It might as well be $10.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that we keep it the split that we have now, the 300 and 100. I would just reverse the two in the warrant article, but again, we've fortunately never had to tap that capital reserve fund. It's about $200,000 right now. And that fund was created 2005, excuse me. So,
And it's got about 200 in it now.
ballpark. And we haven't added to it in probably 15 or so years.
That's proven to be somewhat of a mistake now.
Well,
Moving forward,
okay, I won't even.
What are you proposing? Sorry. What? 200 each?
I mean, well, the way it is, it's fine, I guess, for now anyway, but
I mean,
I think we definitely.
it's just something to think about. I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
I'd sit there and possibly look at me, but I don't know if we're gonna have that much to put in there, so.
No, it's glad.
Yeah.
I mean,
The question is,
Marjorie and I are petrified that we
Well, I think.
get to April and all of a sudden, oh, here we go again, you know, but we are trying to save money.
but so the question is, which one do we prioritize then? If it's only 150,000, which one gets, do we fund the special ed one and then put the rest in maintenance?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, the other side of this is that we have, and I never remember the name, the 2%, or is it 2.5%,
About 440.
400 and something thousand, that if we do have to go over because of special education and we use the special education capital reserve fund at 200,000 ballpark, and there still have to go more, we can ask permission. We can't do it as a board unilaterally. We have to get approval from budget committee and then DOE,
First, I think we have to,
whoever the steps are.
the commissioner of education, and then we have to have a public hearing. And so there's quite a process that we would have to do.
I don't know if there's holy water involved in all that, but
Again,
But if it's in our CRF, we can use it at our discretion.
correct. But all I'm just saying is that we have many means
Right.
to handle if we overspend. And again, just an FYI, that capital reserve fund was established because some 20 years ago, the district overspent its budget and they attributed it at the time to special education. So a board after that established the capital reserve fund.
I mean, that's probably the one thing in our budget that is, we can predict a certain percentage up because they tell us, but like they say, they can change it any time. We don't know how many.
Yeah, we have no control in the sense that students come in, we're gonna get higher. Students leave, it's gonna go down, and there's nothing we can do differently to manage that. So right now, as the motion stands, the budget, I mean, the combined warrant article would be the 301st, 102nd. Question becomes, do we want to amend it? And that's up to the Joe and Steve.
I'll amend my motion and
Before you do, can I make a suggestion? Because there might be a different amendment. I don't want to do it 3 times. Because I agree with what Tony's saying. I don't know, it doesn't sound like the split will go, but what if we do 150 to education and 250 to capital reserve? It's not much. It will help push that line forward a little this year. And, we can't do it all at once, but maybe we can push it a little bit. That would be my suggestion, and this doesn't, for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sit here and split hairs for the next 45 minutes. I'm just, making a
I'm just-
point that this is something that we need to take more seriously. That's all I'm saying. That's all I was trying to make.
I just was tossing it up.
Yeah, no, I
Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, for this year, I think, look, I don't even know if we got $100,000 right now, to be honest. And we still have so many expenses because we haven't gone through guys yet or anything like that. So we still have something does, like something. So for this year, I amend my motion. I'll amend my motion, to have the 25% first on it and then the 75% and the 300,000 second.
So you're saying the purpose of educationally would be first.
Yep.
And maintenance would be the second.
Correct.
Okay.
I will.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everybody know what we're doing? So in essence, we've got the combined warrant article, the wording would be reversed so that The purpose of educating educationally disabled children would be first at 25% up to 100. And maintenance would be second up 75% up to 300,000. Everybody clear? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Aye, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Marjorie. So now, have we got Terry, are we ready on the EI yet
We're
or
trying
not?
to figure out what the information was to be presented, because I can't find it in the minutes. I can't remember, and Todd can't remember what information you guys were asking for.
We needed to know what was Mike's estimate as to what we would be saving in the budget. Because he mentioned, for example, LED would be 50,000 that we could save if we went LED lights in the district. Or when I say the district, really, it's the high school and the middle school. And then he mentioned it could be up to 60-something thousand. And we said, well, let's get firm numbers as to what other things we could do without the boiler being installed immediately. Because as he discussed, we would not be able to July 1st necessarily start this process.
Correct.
July 1st, we could start the LED projects, but everything else, the bigger things would be later, and it might not even be done in the calendar year 24. So that's what we're looking for, because whatever we do will dictate how much we tell the voters we need to raise the first year, and then how much are we taking out of the operating budget.
Okay.
Is that, in my recollection, correct?
That's what I remember.
I don't know if you're gonna get an answer to me, but I'll try.
All right. Well, we're waiting for that. I'm trying to click out of that. Next up, were nominations, but we don't have any nominations, so. Next up,
Glares, I can't see the clock. The glare's like,
it's 7:18.
sorry to interrupt. But
No, it's at
I'm
7:18.
not being weird.
New revised policies first reading. First one up is ACN, Nursing Mothers Accommodation. New Hampshire School Board Association, effective for 2023, both the state and federal legislators, respectively HB 358 and the Pump for Nursing Mothers, in parentheses, Pump Act, passed laws mandating, with limited exceptions, accommodations in the workplace for employees who are nursing. Both statutes only apply to employees. However, students who are nursing are protected from discrimination under other statutes like Title IX and RSA 193-38 or :38, excuse me, such that denying reasonable accommodation is discriminatory and exposes a district liability. As such, districts with high schools or other schools anticipating the possibility of students who have such needs may wish to adopt a singular policy for both students and employees. So that's policy ACN, Nursing Mothers Accommodation. Questions, comments on that? I didn't read the whole thing. I was reading what the New Hampshire School Board Association. Go ahead.
I know we had somebody with some
employee.
Yep. Looking over it, I don't see any, other than the one about the paying the hourly wages.
Yep.
But to add an electrical outlet, I think that's commonplace because you have to have one to.
Well, the way it's worded right now, it doesn't. It says it's, if possible, I think, of what's in there, so that
That has to happen. Silly.
so if we want to make changes.
Need a desk or table, so we have to put the pump somewhere, so it can't be on the floor.
French to store it, right?
Yeah, and provided phone. I also think that we need to make sure when that individual's in a room by themselves doing procedure, we need to make sure that they can call for help if they need help. So there needs to be a phone or something, because quite honestly, cell phone coverage doesn't always work in this building because it's a concrete building. So we just need to make sure that there's a phone or a way for that individual to ask for help if they need it.
Unrelated to that, but related. Do we have those conditions in the building where we have areas where people, if they're there, there's no phone?
I would say maybe, but most places have.
Well, the reason I ask is because obviously right now we have a condition in one of the buildings.
Yep.
That there's a place where we don't have a phone in that area where this employee or an employee is doing what they're doing.
Look at us being all.
I'm trying to,
I know.
without naming names and identifying buildings. What I'm trying to get at is if we have areas that we know that should have a phone, regardless of whether whatever's going on there, that because the cell coverage is not sufficient, then we should have phones there, right? I would think.
Yep, I agree.
Look at a walkie-talkie. I didn't think a walkie-talkie.
They can do that too.
Well, okay, whatever.
We just gotta make
What I'm saying is that because if you've got a maintenance person working someplace and something happens to that maintenance person and they have no cell coverage, we need to make sure that that person has the ability to
offer help.
help out.
I agree.
Regardless of where,
They don't have a walkie-talkie?
I think most maintenance guys carry a walkie.
I just use that as an.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. Yep, we need to make sure that, and Tony, I think makes up a great point. Walkie-talkie works too if best, I don't want to pigeonhole ourselves. Oh, there's no phone, but we can have a walkie-talkie or something that individual can ask for help.
So why don't, if we word it so that they will have a communication device?
Yep, reliable.
Reliable, okay.
Jen, did you get that? Thank you, ma'am.
And then, so you're recommending that we make the recommendations the employee suggested other than
The hourly one is on you.
hourly's on the boards?
Yep.
Like, okay. Everybody follow that? Okay. So what is the board's wish on, because currently we're not a statute required to pay an hourly employee for this. Obviously they're salaried, so they are getting compensated.
Can I ask a dumb question?
You may.
How long does this process take?
Half hour, 40,
It actually says 30.
half hour to an hour,
Depending on the individual.
the female, or last time.
Yeah.
In production, shut up, Terry.
If you know, I'll just say like,
My daughter's doing it, so I'm kind of versed in this right now.
I can't imagine the amount of time lost to nursing hourly employees is so great that it would be a huge impact to us. And I agree with the assertions that, it feels sort of discriminatory to say, well, you can do it, but we're not going to pay you. It's like, I don't know.
There are other situations where hourly employees aren't paid where salary are. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, in this case, and there might be other situations that make
Well,
more sense.
The
This one, like,
example is, for example, if I have a doctor's appointment and I'm hourly and I leave, I don't get paid. I'm a salary employee and I leave for a doctor's appointment, I'm getting paid.
Well, yeah, you can use your 15-minute increment sick time.
Yep. Anyways,
In my mind, I think we should pay them, but maybe we should put, up to 1 hour.
I mean, then we're splitting 15-minute hairs or
And
whatever.
I'm guaranteed to take an hour every time.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I was
Well,
thinking.
Nature. I have an hour.
I was looking at it the other way. I could sit there and say, oh, it took me 4 hours. I mean,
I'm not 4 hours.
that's why I said, that way there'd be less.
You could word it with a reasonable amount of time and kind of,
That's another subjective. That's
no, that's a
Relative term.
Just leave.
What's your recommendation, Terry?
99.9% people are gonna do what's right. They're gonna
When they're,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
do
do
it, when it's done, they're
it
gonna,
makes sense.
if it becomes an issue and someone's in
Yeah.
there,
and it needs to be addressed.
right.
Somebody's in there for 3 hours.
You know, they have
That's the same person.
Paper all day and that.
Sorry, I fell asleep.
Oh, yeah. No way.
Same person who runs to the restroom 19 times. If they're gonna take advantage, find a way to take advantage.
Most people will do what they need to do.
Right.
And when we start legislating for the 10%,
Yeah, that
it
is
makes the
like,
90% mad.
I have one more
I'll
question.
just leave it in paid then. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not,
Go ahead, Tony.
it's only for a short amount of time anyway, I think. An hour, yeah. So this applies to students as well, right? Nursing
Sure,
mothers
yeah.
that attend this school as a student.
That a policy, yes.
Okay. So I don't see anywhere it says that they're restricted. I mean, they prefer you to do it during off time, like lunch or whatever, but is there anything that says they can't do it
No, we would make accommodations.
ram time or
They would have
whatever?
They would have a 504, I guarantee you, because it's a medical condition. And within that, it would say,
When,
you have to do it, and they would be excused.
And that would be a scheduled time, pretty much.
Most likely, yes.
Okay.
I mean, student wants to be successful in most cases, so they're gonna try to make it so that it's during RAM or
if they
study hall,
study,
if they can. so, we might have to accommodate their schedule and move some stuff around so that, again, it could be at their appropriate time.
All set, Tony?
I just want to make sure that, we won't have people being denied based on the time that they need to do it. Okay, that's
Yeah,
not something I want to even
504
deal
would
with.
be, like Carrie said, they'll take care of that. Anything else?
I'm good.
I did that one.
All set, Joe?
Hold on a second.
Okay.
1 second here.
That's fine.
Try to read two things at once.
That's why you got two eyes.
Got 4 right now.
Well, that's what the glasses are for. Doesn't help me any.
That's helpful with one, in one thing.
There we go. I just want to make sure we went over the whole. Is that?
Times have changed. Back when I was in school, if a student was expecting, went to stay with their grandmother or whatever for a couple months and then, came back and.
So there was ask about the accommodations and plans. Who?
Oh, so in my mind, again, yes, it's ultimately the administrator, but I would say set your plan up with the nurse because again, and then go from there and the nurse would share with me what the plan is so that I can ensure that students are covered, everything is done. And I would say that the plan needs to be extremely flexible because the night before, baby didn't feed as much. So we probably might have to pump a little more today. So again, I don't want to get locked in on 8:10, so we just need to be flexible. And I would trust my nurse and my employee to let me know as the building administrator that I need to provide a little extra coverage because today might be more than once and tomorrow, the baby's going through a growth spurt and
All right.
I know I'm going to get yelled at by my wife who's a OBGYN that I am way off base on this, but this is how a guy thinks. So.
Yeah.
We're gonna take care of the ladies, so.
Yes.
All right, the moms.
Put a
All set, Joe?
couch in there.
Yeah.
Well,
Recliners, nice.
So when you're looking at the nurse, helps make this plan out, and it goes to whoever, and this will be written out and kept in the nurse's office, or?
It's, again, I don't want it. If we have to go to the fact where it needs to be written, we can write it. Right now, I want to keep it open-ended because again, I don't want somebody to say, well, it says here, you can only go at 8:00.
That's true, too.
I want you to be able to go when you need to go, as long as you're talking to me and communicating me as to what your needs are today, because your needs are going to change tomorrow. And a month from now, it's going to change again, because as Tony says, eventually the baby starts to wean. So 6 months out, you might be pumping once a day instead of twice a day or 3 times a day.
Those Cheerios come in handy.
Huh?
So those Cheerios come in handy.
Yeah.
The one with 4 over here. There it is, a Cheerio right there.
I believe you. I did not doubt you.
All right. All set, Joe?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay. Next up, EBCC bomb found or threats. And again, from the Hampshire School Board Association, sample EBCC, which formerly only addressed bomb threats, was retitled and substantially revised to include additional threats as well as false alarms. And it goes on. So, any questions, comments about EBCC, bomb found or threats? I just want to make sure ours was, the title was different, I think even. No, it was just bomb found or threats. Okay. I couldn't remember. Comments about EBCC? Go ahead, Tony.
So simultaneously, law enforcement shall be notified. It says, investigation of the threat should be made by local law enforcement. I mean, doesn't seem like it's mandatory enough, right? Like, is
Where
there,
are you?
so is there
Where are you,
a,
Tony?
is there a
Number
criminal
3?
penalty for this act here? Like, obviously you've got a bomb threat, but it's
Um,
out of our hands. It
Can
goes,
be. It depends on the age of the student.
one of the few things that could lead to an expulsion. correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
But there also could be criminal
Could be.
consequences to it.
Could be.
Is that defined in here? It says it could be subject to, criminal. We need to make
Can
that
we-
clear.
Can we say that though? Because is that really our choice to make a criminal?
Yeah, we could press charges.
For
Yeah, but
weapons, guns.
goddamn bomb threat, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
We're not just gonna tell them, hey,
They are-
I mean,
have
if
to
we,
do that
if we
again.
call the cops, I would think that that would be, wouldn't they?
Right, but like Harry was saying, there are, I think we have in other policies, you know.
Explicitly?
Could
Okay.
even be in another policy.
Yeah, it's the-
This is outlined.
yeah, I think.
Well, I'm just saying that, for
JIC,
example, bringing a handgun or something like that, so.
Student or faculty.
Because it's not like we're saying this is what's gonna happen. Obviously, it's not in our hands, what the police do.
Right.
Once it happens, but just to make anybody aware that these are the ramifications of the potential.
It is outlined, RSA 193D, safe school zones and follow the Raymond School District. So the RSA is mentioned down there at the bottom. Safe schools typically involves us filing a report with the police. And then they can do with it what they want.
All right, so if they find it necessary to proceed, okay, I guess that works.
All right. Anything else on EBCC? All right, we'll have a second reading in 2 weeks. Next up, new revised policy, second reading. Policy BEDG minutes. This has been revised, and then Terry had saw some things in the last 2 weeks that he felt should be addressed.
Yes, number 5, reviewing the minutes, you'll see a blue strike through down there. Actually, Jen and I were chatting. I'm been reviewing it and she's preparing the log. And then, according to our policy, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, we were supposed to list the minute time 20 years ago, let's just say, the time they went into non-public, the time they went out of non-public, the time they, da. I'm going through and basically listing the date, the item, yes or no, and the rationale. And that's all I'm putting. And according to the law, the minute that meets the minimum standard. And so we don't need to go into the whole.
Listing more information.
Yeah.
And if we do list more, that means you're gonna have to spend
Oh, I gotta go back.
2 or 3 more minutes of the.
Yeah, and I gotta go back and try and find a time and,
Does it really matter what time they went in and out of that section?
no, that's what I'm saying. We don't.
But it's in the minutes, so it's
Yeah.
not like it's.
Yeah, it's not hidden. Yeah, it's in, all that stuff is in the previous minutes. I don't know why we need to re-justify and log it again,
Yep.
other than the fact that this is the minute, this is the item number, this is yes or no, we're gonna keep it sealed, and the rationale of why we're keeping it sealed or unsealed.
Yep. Everybody clear? All right, if we get a motion on BEDG,
Or make a motion, we accept policy BEDG.
second, please.
Second.
Second by Tony. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Just clarifying, Terry. Does that mean now the board can start addressing some of the ones you've already gone through, or
Close, aren't we, Jennifer?
We're ready.
Oh,
let the good times roll?
yes,
We'll go, but that will be going down memory lane.
yes.
All right. Next up, policy IKA-R grading system. And again, no revisions to this one.
I'll make a motion, we accept policy IKA-I grading system.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Cindy. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next policy, KF-R, use of school facilities. Again, no changes.
I'll make a motion, we accept policy KF-I, use of school facilities.
Second, please.
Second.
Second by Cindy. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, policy JH, attendance, absenteeism, and truancy. Again, no revisions.
And what we accept policy JH, attendance, absenteeism, and truancy.
Second.
Second by Cindy. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, JHC, student release precautions. The one thing that was suggested at the first reading to clarify that students who drive to school do not need to be accompanied by a parent/guardian to be released are noted in blue. That's one of the things we talked about, that it was raised by a citizen. Any,
I'll make a motion to accept policy JHC, student release precautions.
Second.
second by Cindy. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, policy JICDD, student discipline out of school actions. No changes to that one after the first reading. Entertain a motion for that.
No takers, I guess. So I'll accept policy JICDD, student discipline out of school actions.
Second on that?
Second.
Second by Cindy. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Go to monthly update, financial update, is that right? Okay, so we'll go to the monthly financial
Can I
update.
ask one question?
Go ahead.
Make sure I asked before this. Does this, use of facilities, I don't want to read all 10 pages there, but does it specify anywhere that the superintendent can waive the fee? at
Oh, I
discretion?
don't know. I'm sure it does, but
I would think
Mentioned
it
it
would, but
last
I mean, if
time.
it doesn't, then, the policy committee is not gonna stand for that.
taking a
They
stand on that one,
mentioned it
don't?
last
Well, if
time.
it doesn't say you can do it, then I don't know. I just didn't see it in here, going over it quickly.
Why don't you guys move on and I'll read it.
Yep.
Which one is that again?
KFR.
KFR. I'll take a gander.
Ed Marjorie.
So the financials that you guys are going over tonight are for October. And in 2 weeks, I'll be going through the ones for November. I've already started, working on it. So what you have here is October 31st, the summary of general fund revenues. And at this point in time, the DRA, the tax was not set. So those figures are not in here. They will be in there for you for next, in 2 weeks for November. So at this point in time, we had taken in $6,549 for the general fund, $166,000,
Number you just gave?
$8,406,000.
I thought you said 8,000, and that's why
Maybe I did.
I was confused.
I thought you said 8,000.
I could have, $8,000, yeah. The food service revenue, we've taken in 166,000 and federal funds for our grants at 399,000.
So just to clarify, total general funds was $8,406,549.
Not 8,000.
Yeah.
Sorry.
no, I just-
If there's no questions on there,
Any questions on the revenue side?
okay. The general fund expenditures by object code through October 31st. It was asked at the last month because I reconcile the salaries and benefits every month. But with that being said, some of those salaries are not encumbered in the system yet because they're either substitute lines that are by a day or on a bi-weekly basis. We don't know who's going to be in those positions at that point. Or they're co-curriculars that haven't been filled or athletics that won't be filled until the spring. So your last tab there, it was asked that I start including those. So that is at the end. So I'll go over that. But that's what makes up that 12 million for the total expenditure and encumbrances. And as you go through, you can still see that we have a little savings in salaries and health insurance. And as we go down, you can see that we're $500,000 over in student transportation, $500,000 over on tuitions. And as we move down, I'm trying to figure out what we're going to need before we get to the end of the year. I also increased the transfer to food service by $100,000, which would be $35,000 over the budgeted of 65. So when I did this report, I'm showing that we'll have $2,100 left at the end of the year.
I have a question on the salary. I'm sorry, the 130,000. I was surprised it's not more. And the reason I say that is because we have, as of the middle of November, 21 paras openings. And to me, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars right there. And I'm just surprised that we're only at 130. Because I think I looked at the three where they're all lumped together for each school. And you'll add them all up, it's over $400,000 in that we're not anticipating. So I'm just the rationale for that.
Have a rationale for that?
What I mean is right now we're estimating 130. I just thought it would be higher than that, knowing that we've got those 21.
I see what you're saying, but I haven't accounted, like, if the question is, have I accounted for those 21 people? Like, if we hired them, I haven't done that.
No, what I'm asking is I'm just surprised that we're not showing salaries much more favorable, positive variance than we are, which would then potentially take us off of a freeze. That's all.
Yep.
That was where I was going.
I'm in the process of reconciling again right now to see where we are. And the problem is, you know, in the middle of the year, or in the middle of the month, where we're constantly trying to follow the bouncing ball.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, you know, like for this report, we didn't have a tech director yet. So I had accounted for Brittany still and Matt and Cam. So now Matt's moved into that role, moving Cam into his, and now we still have an open position. So I'm trying to play with that as well. If you do go to the last tab that I did include, as I was talking about the wages, there is $581,000 of total additional salaries yet to be encumbered or spent. And that basically comes down to the curriculum coordinator stipend, middle school team leader stipend, tutors, co-curricular salaries, Saturday detention, school board secretary. At this point, we hadn't even hired the Fed fund accountant and HR assistant, so that's accounting for that person. The custodians that we were short at the elementary school and the middle school, 6 periods stipend. And then at the end of the year, we really don't get into the district-wide severance payout, the health insurance stipends, the RESS stipends, REA personal time, all of that stuff. So that alone makes up the $581,000 if we spend that we can't account for on a yearly basis. So I see what you're saying, and I'll look into it as I'm doing the right.
That's all I'm asking. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any more questions?
On the expenditure side. Food service next, right?
Food service, again, the revenues weren't set at this point in time, and now they are, but I did try to lump them in there as what I was expecting them to be. And with that being said, we are looking at a general fund transfer of $136,205. I have been seeing increased sales coming through now that I've only seen 2 of them because it's newly established is the card at the vending machines. So we'll see if that's going to help us or not. Questions on there?
Was that on food service? Right.
All right, grants. This is what we have spent and what we have encumbered so far. And this is one of the things that we keep discussing as we're going through the budget about some of these positions that are now going to be added into the proposed budget for 24-25. And as of October 31st, there was $179,000 in this grant remaining. And I do know that we had talked about taking some money out of the proposed budget out of here, and the board decided not to do that. So otherwise, I would have tried to have reflected that here.
Right now in the budget, we've got like 33,000 for the district-wide school psychologist. Right. Other than that, it was left untouched. But I would think until
And I would have to add that into here.
the budget's approved, right, we wouldn't.
Ron's actually putting that in now.
What's that?
Ron's actually filing the paperwork to put that into ESSER right now.
Submit?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Is it-
I don't know with the way the bucks, but he's like, well, we can always take it out just so it gives us a what if.
So, because when I prepare this, I typically go off of what's on the DOE website of what has actually been approved. Not what's pending. And then after that is the, what's this summary? I need a lot of title changes.
I think you did that last time.
Yeah, no.
Detail of expenditures by object code is behind that.
Questions on the Ezra? All right. Thanks, Marjorie.
Thank you.
Have we got an answer from EEI yet or?
No, I don't think we're gonna get one. He's in another meeting and Todd can't get a hold of him. I do have an answer for KFR though. The policy, there is no waiver.
We,
See one.
so how do
We want
handle
to take it
that?
up, we'll
Yeah,
take it up at another time.
Policy committee, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we need to do something with this, the EI. I think at least at a minimum, determine if we're gonna have it as a, in the operating budget, or if we're gonna have a standalone warrant article, and then worry about,
Been, I think, yeah, so it would have been maybe $10,000-$20,000 difference between,
we don't know.
yeah.
So my point being is I think it was decide, does the board want to do this, the project through EEI in the operating budget or a separate warrant article? And the, as it stands right now, I think we talked about 20 years, correct? And that would be $317,880 is what, and then it's a matter of savings, and we don't know that part, but at a minimum, so that we can give the budget committee some sense as to where we are as opposed to waiting 2 weeks, right?
Yep. At a minimum, I think it's $50,000.
Yeah,
I know, we don't.
what I'm trying to do is just get the ball rolling so that we can say, okay, worst case is it's gonna be $880. Then it's a matter of how much less is it gonna be because of savings? But then the more importantly, is it gonna be part of the operating budget or is it gonna be a warrant article?
Yearly is that number, $33? What?
The $880 is a 20-year, but I think that will get changed a little bit. Cause he keeps talking, Mike was talking about last time. We're not gonna, see a savings. And some of these projects, we may not, start, thus not getting the grant, right? Until maybe even 25. So that's where it gets really convoluted and we need the information at that point to say how much things are gonna cost.
Sounds silly, but I would assume the solar panels would be the first thing to go in because you need that to start making the savings. Cause that's gonna fund the project.
Right, but he also talked about that stuff, American, to get the larger grant is a longer lead time right now.
Yep.
And he talked about that might not happen immediately too. Just like the boiler, and that's the big one.
Make in the United States.
Right, the two biggest things are the ones that are biggest ticket.
Yep.
And those are the ones that are the lead time right now, he thought would be the longest. His memory of what happened, the conversation.
That is correct.
So I guess the question would be this long, to at least to get so that the budget committee has some direction from us. What do we want to do in the operating budget or a separate warrant article for the project or these projects? Go ahead, Tony.
I would vote for operating budget based on the fact that if people see, they're already complaining about tax increase, right? Big budget, capital reserves, then they get to this, and it's a 300,000 because we won't know by the time it goes on there what we're gonna be saving, right?
Actually, it's gonna say, millions of dollars on there. like
Yeah, I mean,
last
but
time.
so,
The warrant article would, if it's a budget, then it's a different number.
so we either need to write it in the sky what this is gonna end up really being, so people see it. Cause I don't think a lot of people watch this, a few, but not all the voters do.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm gonna agree with Tony. I think it should be in the budget. I mean, we tried the warrant article and tried to explain, I mean, I don't know how many freaking public hearings and stuff like that we had trying to explain the EEI thing, and a lot of people just go in and they see a number on their piece of paper, and that was it. So I think it should go on the budget.
Steve?
I agree with the budget.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So if it's in the budget, does it increase what we have going now or by
Yeah,
what,
the,
20,000?
no, the budget would, as it stands right now, would be, it increased the budget by $317,880. And then we know there's savings, but until we get more information from Mike Davy from EEI, we know, like Terry said, ballpark 50, we know already that we're gonna see savings once we do the LED.
Yeah, I know that.
Lighting
about the
project.
Savings, but like, how does that affect the default budget?
It won't touch it at all because this is a new project and it had nothing to do with last year's.
So will it mean that you can do it if you get the default budget? Does that mean you can do it the next year?
I would think you would be allowed to do it. I would, because the way I look at it is, just because you get a default doesn't mean you can't have the teachers you hired. You can't have, the opposite would be true, then we don't have the superintendent, we don't have teachers, we don't have, that's not how it needs to work. So, because
$300 some $1,000. We'd still,
Would it
the
be
default would
more
be
on the
300.
default?
No, it wouldn't be more on the default, but the default budget would still be $300,000 over what our current budget would be still. If we added the 317.
So the 317 would be added to both of them?
No, just the regular budget. So right now we're
Oh.
about $600 something $1,000 between our
Right,
budget and the
right,
regular.
yep.
So our budget would increase, but the default would stay the same. So it'd be about 300,000.
If we added this, then it would still be 300,000 less than at the default.
ballpark, yep. Yeah,
Free money.
as I said, I think we should give the voters the ability to yay or nay, either one. And I think we can do a better job. And as Mike said, he would help us with that.
So what
To
are you
explain it.
saying?
I would have a different,
You have the warrant article?
a separate warrant article, so that, because again, normally I would say it would be do it in the budget, but here we are talking about a 20-year lease, something we've never done before with, a project of this size. And the number of things that we're impacting by doing that, I just think we should do it with the voters. Now, we have the ability to do either or.
Right.
It's just a matter of what the board's pleasure is. And
So I have a question about that. If, you do a warrant article and then it doesn't pass, then what happens?
then
Because we
don't do it.
We eventually need the furnaces, so,
No, yeah, absolutely.
I mean.
You wouldn't do it this year.
Yeah, if it got
it
voted
just
no.
wouldn't happen
We would have to
here, But
make
then
some-
you'd have,
We would have to come.
if one of them breaks, you just fix it right now?
We'd have to, well, one defense, if it breaks, I'm coming to you for $400,000.
Yeah.
Or 800,000 because.
Well, that's two buildings. One building's 400, the other one's,
With an already severely underfunded capital reserve fund.
I'm gonna guess if you had to replace one of the boilers. you
Oh,
might replace both.
yeah.
No, I mean, not in the schools, but I mean, it'd be $800,000 just for this school, it says.
oh, I don't know. I think it was.
Oh, because you don't get the
Yeah, I don't know.
savings with the solar panels and all that.
Well, yeah.
All right. So if somebody make a motion, then we can,
I'll make a motion that we accept the 20-year lease, option to the 20-year lease agreement.
Option 3.
Guy at approximately $318,000. Option 3, sorry. Option 3.
all right. And this, okay, I'll get a second.
He did, so did you specify as a part of the budget?
Yeah, no, you do not, right? Yeah, thank you, Steve.
And to put that three,
Another big fella.
Oh, I'm not, listen, it gets slow, but it moves sometimes.
and to put that $318,000,
Would go in the operating budget. Get a second?
A second.
All right. And again, this is more of to show the budget committee our intent. And then we'll get a fine tooth once we get with Mike and get better numbers for the savings, but also to clarify what are the numbers going to be, because the first year could be different than that. And that's what I'm worried about. But anyways, all right, everybody else, go ahead.
I was saying, based on what he said, the first year will definitely be lower than the 317, but probably not by much, but the eventual year 2 and beyond, the total budget impact because of the savings should be around 33, just to get it out there for anyone's watching. like year two, year three, the budget impact year two should only be about $34,000, not the 317, because we'll be saving money
Right, exactly.
on all the other stuff, just so that people
No, you're
get
right.
the wash.
So if I can just
Go ahead.
add to that, when do we find out what those savings will be? Before or after?
The
we
intent
buy
was,
this?
it was tonight and it didn't happen.
So he'd be able to tell us definitively, this is savings that you're going
I don't
to.
think anybody can give it a exact,
Oh,
but I think it can be more assured that this would be the savings.
I appreciate something like, oh, well, it's, most of the time we get it. But
I will say that
Mm.
in the engineering world, they're gonna give you a number that they know is gonna work. Just like a structural engineer, they're not gonna give you a bridge that they think that 200-ton truck can go over. They're gonna give it and say it's gonna be significantly more than that, so they're sure that it's gonna.
I think
Yeah, they'll design a bridge that can take 800,000.
Right, whatever it
It would
is.
have been less than what he actually thinks we would save. 'Cause you just want to be sure.
Yep, go ahead, Cindy.
The placement of the solar panels being on the field, how does that affect? Obviously you can't do soccer, practice over there.
No, the field it is impacting. There are, the PE team, the PE dudes go out there to high school right now because they used to go down below, I think. And it's just an easier walk across the level parking lot as opposed to down that slight decline out there. Or maybe a significant decline.
Or an
So
incline on
that's-
the way back.
Yeah, so as you go up the driveway,
Oh,
before you hit this turn to come into the parking lot in front of the SAU, it's immediately to your left. That field that's been mowed down for a few years now
Okay.
in that area is where they're intending on putting it. And Mike said that, hey, if the board decides maybe some of it goes there or all of it goes out here, I think I'm pointing in the right direction out to the front. As we talked about last time, that's something we could work out as details go further, but not right now, the details. But right now, as it stands, that area out there on the left, as you come up that driveway is where the solar panels would go under the current proposal.
So
Go ahead.
I just want to go on the record saying I hate the idea of putting them over there on that field. I would prefer to see them up on this hill, even though probably some added cost would be more difficult, but that space that I've never seen utilized, but that is decent space that could be used for a multitude of things. And I'd hate to see it filled with solar panels that
Okay.
just ruin it. I know it wasn't used historically, right? Usually right until the outdoor graduation over there, was
A few
when we
years ago,
started
yeah.
using it again,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think it's a great space and I would hate to kill it with solar panels.
Anybody else? All right, so the motion is to put the EI project in essence in the budget. All those in favor? All right, I oppose it. And again, to clarify,
I'm gonna go with the opposing.
I support the project. I just would rather in the separate warrant article. So
Question. So say that we get the numbers and the savings are there and we can say that it's going to be 30 cents next year. Could we then decide to put on a warrant article? If we get numbers, so if we get numbers that are more appealing to the voter, could we then, if he comes back to next week and says, your year 2, 3, 4 is gonna be 30,000. So then we can say, look, first year, yeah, but the next year it's gonna be essentially nothing.
Yeah, the problem with that is we're not allowed in the warrant article to put the savings in.
but right now, we're not even worrying about that because right now the board has decided they want to go in the budget, right?
And that's one of the biggest reasons it's that number.
But again, that's our job to educate the voter.
We had, I want to say 4 or 5. Plus we had, coffee hours and stuff like that. We had quite a bit of trying to get out there. I even put a pamphlet out there. We put a whole bunch of stuff. I think we were at the fair that year. And it was, yeah, it's just so hard because I think a lot of people just go in and they look at a number on their voting piece of paper. And as much as we put it out there, I mean, heck, one of them, we had 2 people here. I mean,
Jen, I didn't mention it, but the vote passed 3-2. Just, I try to announce that. All right. So now we're back on track. donation acceptance. Correct?
Yep, was looking.
And this is, from the Walmart Distribution Center?
Correct. They called Todd. They said they had some, school supplies, pencils, notebooks and papers that they would like to donate us due to the, monetary value of $2,065.96. The school board needs to accept that donation.
What's that, like 8,000 Walmart notebooks? $2,000, like.
And a lot.
Wow.
I think there were some pallets on the pickup truck that came in, which is nice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we accept the donation from Walmart Distribution Center in the amount of $2,065.96.
Second,
Second.
second by Cindy, discussion. Other than make sure we thank Walmart again.
Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Strategic plan update, Terry?
Yes, it's on, community process expectations and accountability, district consistency. The first one is the behavior health advisory team will continue to work to identify areas of inconsistency among the buildings, provide recommendations to the superintendent. Excuse me, admin, we continue to meet to make sure that messages are the same, timely notifications. We're meeting on PD on a regular basis. We just met today to discuss, the differentiated instruction. Jessica has reached out to the state. We've got understanding design by learning, from the state. They're going to come in and do a workshop on consistency, on differentiated instruction. So I think, I'm not hearing as many complaints this year, so I think messages are more consistent. There's not that, as even though there's a difference, it's been much more consistent.
Age appropriate difference.
There we go. Thank you, sir. Number 2, establish a district-wide grading team to recommend a district-wide grading policy. Schools right now are working on that 100-point scale. I met again, all the principals met this morning at 7:30. And Tom and Pete are working on that, and they know they need to have something by March. They're also working on the schedules, which I think is coming up too, a new master schedules to ensure that we're providing what we feel is the best. Behavioral health advisory teams. A lot of this is what Sam went through when she did her presentation. I'm not going to read what's in red, but Sam shared a lot of that consistency, behavioral health stuff. Consistency with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and that's the last two, basically bullets there.
Questions, comments on the strategic plan update? Question on the last page, the behavioral advisory team will develop recommended policies and procedures. And in your bullet in red or your update, the last thing is struggling at LRES due to behaviors and staffing issues. Are we able to, and I'm just asking, are we able to take staffing from other schools and help out? And I don't mean permanently, I mean, as opposed to I work 5 hours, the full day at the high school, I go down and visit in the morning or something. I'm asking.
We've asked for volunteers. We haven't gotten a lot of, what I want to say, people willing to do it. Quite honestly, when we've kind of pushed, they threaten to quit. So I don't need to be shorthanded in some other areas.
I just asked.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you when,
I understand.
we continue to meet, I can tell you we're putting up some more rooms. I've been down there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I understand. I just was thinking,
Yeah.
we thought of trying to get other
Yeah.
people to do help out
The
because we're short.
BCBA, Mary's down there a lot more than we thought they would be. So for 2 extra hands down there. So that's some extra added help. Today it seemed like we had some progress, and I thought we had progress yesterday, and then I got a phone call, and today seemed a little bit better. I checked in this morning because there were some individuals that were out with the workshop, and it was kind of weird. It was a very calm morning, and those students had smiles on their faces, and they were in and out of the office. So they definitely have plans and procedures and stuff, but it's harder with the little guys because their motor races a lot faster, and they just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Whereas an older kid can
Process.
still lose their mind, but I think they realize what their the actions are. But, yeah, we're working really hard, and Jessica and her team are working really hard. And another thing too is we've been tapping Tom and Pete and Joanne, all of the brains. So we're not just settling it there. We come together and we have with Todd lengthy discussions about what we can do, how we can do it, how we can we're reutilizing some space again, moving some stuff around to create more efficient space so that we are quicker in a reaction or quicker to do what we need to do.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on the strategic plan update? All right, committee reports. Go ahead, Joe.
We had SST on Monday. We looked at the draft calendar. I think things fell a little bit more in place.
Yeah.
For most districts. For most districts.
And we have to, I don't know, we gotta wait on Epping because they actually have 9 teacher workshop days. So they have a lot. And so, Bill, I've presented ours to Meredith, who's the superintendent over in Winnicott. And Bill is working on his, and then she'll take and compile and make sure we have the 10 days we're not out of line. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But things, I think we had to move.
Well, you have the 27th
Yeah.
of September, so they didn't have that on there. We made sure they put that on there for Deerfield Fair.
That's our one.
Yeah, and I think the one in January where we had it on Tuesday this year, they already have the 17th as being a no school for them.
Teacher workshop day.
Yeah, and so we'd probably just move ours from the 21st to the 17th. It's only.
And I hope they have November.
Yep, 5th.
Okay, thank you.
And I think everybody also has that day in March.
That was already on there.
Yeah, but
I just wanted to,
yeah, they all, I think, actually, Tom was like, well, we don't have elections in our buildings, but 4 other people did. And we're like, and so he's like, okay. I had to take it. We actually called us the Muppets that day because we were giving him a hard time about it. The grumpy old men and the Muppets.
The 4-year agreement will be on the next agenda.
Yep.
So we'll see that coming up.
Question. So talking about professional development days, who determines what will be the focus of those days?
Well, a lot of it was the strategic plan. So that's probably will still drive it. A lot of it's driven by, this year we had iReady come in. So a lot of the elementary and grades 4 and 5 had a lot of training on that.
And then they did the youth risk survey was one of them, right? They went over
Yep, they did that with the high school and the middle school. That was a half a day. So basically that was, that's SLE. So, like right now, we have differentiated instruction coming up in January. In March, we're going to focus on,
vertical alignment.
Yes, thank you, vertical alignment.
That was my question,
Yep.
like, are we focusing on that? Cause
Yep.
that's I don't want to say a serious issue in this district.
Yeah.
but it's been
We're going to start taking a look at that too. We're actually giving hour for phone calls so that we make sure that we're making the phone calls home that we need the second round of phone calls. It's so weird. You get to it and it's like, oh my God, we don't have enough time. You don't think you have enough time and it's like, oh, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. And it's really, it's a lot. And everybody, it's hard too, because Pete needs to get this done and Jessica wants to get this done. And Tom's kind of, I don't say he's in the middle because he's got to do both because he's got the elementary and the middle school. It's just amazing how fast the day fills up. We're looking right now too at responsive classroom introductions. The people who haven't had responsive classroom, we're going to sign them up. And I think there's 30 seats so that they get the introduction to responsive classroom. We're talking too about offering a responsive classroom refresher course over the summer. We have quite a bit of money in Title IIA. We could pay for the instructor, pay people to come in so that they would, have a more of a, to be honest with you, enticement to come in. There's a lot.
any other committee reports?
Budget committee. Been a lot of fun. You want to take that one? You got a night?
I think it was a good night. Terry and Marjorie answered a lot of questions. It's a lot of good discussion. We have an unfortunate situation where everything's higher and everybody understands that there's hard decisions that have to be made and, there was a lot to go through, but I think it was, there's a lot of thoughtful questions. There was more discussion about solar.
Yes, no, I saw that. That was very interesting discussion, but
Yeah.
I liked the the discussion that was taking place. It was worthwhile and
Yeah.
constructive.
Next up, superintendent's report, Terry.
I kind of mentioned it earlier, 'cause Tony brought it up, the PD days coming up. We continue to have some very good meetings, productive meetings. It is, it sounds weird, but everybody's rowing the same way. It just makes everything a lot easier. So, I mean, kudos to the administrative staff. Kudos to them too, when they don't agree, they're not scared to say, hey, I think we could go in this route, and helps me too, because, I want them to be open. I want them to be honest and, tell me their feelings and thoughts, because I think that makes it a very comprehensive and broader approach.
Okay, questions, comments for Terry? All right, correspondence or other? Manifest signing?
Accounts payable before you tonight, $999,763.35. Payroll, $509,370.81 for a grand total of $1,509,134.16.
Yes, they're all signed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marjorie. Next up, approval of minutes, October 24th, 2023.
All right, let's go rapid fire here, Joe.
Make a motion, we accept the October 24th, 2023 minutes.
Second, please.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor?
I,
Motion passes unanimously. October 25th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to accept the October 25th, 2023 minutes.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. October 1st, 2023. November, excuse me. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the November 1st, 2023 minutes.
Second.
Second by Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. I have a question or something on November 15th. I'm just trying to pull it up on page 3 of those minutes. The second bullet, actually, it's the first bullet. The third sentence. Are you there, Jen? It should read Mr. Clements.
Oh, right.
Where's it at?
Third page,
Third page.
right in the middle, like
Third sentence.
2.5 inches down.
All right. That was the only one I had for the public. I have. Motion, if we get a motion, on October 5th as amended. 15th, excuse me.
November 15th.
15th, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the November 15th, 2023 minutes.
Second,
Read the context and make sure it wasn't my wife speaking about something. Okay. Second.
second by Tony. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. November 15th, non-public. I think we can unseal E. I'm opening them up now so that I can.
Yeah.
Pretty vague, so I'd say, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the non-public minutes of November 15th, 2023 and unseal item E.
Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, no, minutes for November 16th, 2023. I do have a few things there and I'm trying to open my minutes up, so.
My paper is the best.
Well, all right. On page 2, I'm counting down, I think. Did I say, where am I? Sorry. Page 2, third motion. 1, I'm trying to find it, sorry, I'm having a problem here. Sorry. Why am I'm not finding it. Well, then it can't be that bad. Oh, I know why. Okay. Sorry. In the third motion, it is the one that starts, talking about to keep the Ibrahim School Middle School teachers. I think we need to add a sentence in there to clarify what is being talked about after that. So I think if we add a third sentence, which would then be,
On page 2,
yes. I'm just trying to locate it in here. Sorry.
it's okay. Just want to make sure I'm reading the right one.
Actually, it's not that one. It's the fourth one. It's talking about the Ezra funds. Because the motion is to, spend $33,194 on the Ezra for the school psychologist. And then it goes on and it talks about, there was discussion, Mr. Solinder stated that we're trying to get it on a rotating schedule, and it doesn't reference what it is. So my solution would be, the motion does not include removing from the budget the purchase of Chromebooks or Promethean panels. And that will tie up that. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. You got that, Jen? Okay. I rambled, so I just want to make sure everybody's on the page. And then on page 3, I'm trying to find it. It's the second motion from the bottom. It's the one John Harmon moved, second by Tony Clements, to reduce the middle school co-curricular. And I would add at the very end, voted unanimously in the affirmative. Yeah, anything else on this November 16th? If not,
Talk about because it does say voted unanimously and right below that paragraph, because I think there's more added. The second one up, you said, right?
yeah, but then it goes,
The mentor program.
this is the next one that you see that doesn't have motion at the beginning. It talks about Mr. Leatherman suggested a mentor. That then it says it's a different motion.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we get a motion for November 16th as amended,
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for November 16th, 2023 as amended.
get a second?
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And that was it for the minutes. Excuse me, if we get a motion to go into non-public.
I'm gonna go, should we go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, C and M.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Joe?
Yes.